I've discovered that sometimes we attach to our stories, our pain stories more often than not, than our drama stories. What do I mean by that? A while back, I had this very tough, horrible breakup that defined me as a person for a while. It was such a big impact in my life, or this had such a big impact in my life, that everything I did, everything I was, everything I expressed, everything I did was around or because of this breakup. So I was the hurt puppy, that's the identity I took, the hurt maiden or girl, the one with the broken heart that used to cry all the time, that could not concentrate on anything, that didn't find another boy because he still loved the other one, and so on and so forth. And years passed, and I still clung to that identity of the broken girl because when I was sad or angry, or I used to hate life or react in a certain way with certain people or in certain occasions, the only thing they had to say was, I'm hurt, I have a broken heart, even if it was years after, because this broken heart thing lasted a while. And after a while, everyone already knew that I was the way I was because of my broken heart. And so if I cried suddenly, or if I wanted to stay in my room and not go out for days, etc., etc., or if I was depressed, everyone already knew it was because I was heartbroken. And even I told that to myself, when I didn't make sense of life or situations, or I couldn't deal with things, or I wanted to die, or when life um, lost its color and its excitement, I was I used to say it's because of that. And in some aspects, or until some extent, I still use that card, but not like maybe I use 10% of it, not really that much anymore. Until one day I was like, okay, I realized that I am attaching myself to that story. I am telling myself I cannot live my life because my heart is broken. And there is a part of it that it is broken, but it is not fully broken anymore. And if I were just to let go of that story of the broken heart girl, my life could be much better. And it actually could also be much easier and much more enjoyable. But I was just so used to that girl now, after 3 years or so of being her, that I didn't know who would I be if I weren't her anymore. I got used to being the sad one, the angry one, the broken one. That it was like, okay, if I stop being that, so what am I? Would I then now need to go out into the world and find love again? No, I don't want. I'm terrified of it. And when I think about this, I there is a meme of a guy, a little kid, that is crying because he feels he's drowning. He's in a place where there is a rope and he's holding tight into the rope, and then his feet are like flying, like maybe swimming or floating on the water, and he's just like drowning, thinking like he's drowning. And then the mom or someone comes and helps him up, and he realizes that the water, if he will just stand straight, the water will just come up to his hips. He's not drowning at all. So when I think about these attachment stories to, or well, this attachment to our pain stories, I see that kid. I see myself as that kid, like we are all drowning into this storm, into these hard feelings, into these difficulties. We think we are it, But if we were just to stop and look at it, we would be like, okay, I think I'm making a little bit of drama. There is not really a tornado. I could let this go. But we don't really do that, do we? We like our stories. And I'm thinking about this again because I'm doing some self reflection in my journal and so on. And uh, there is another story I can see myself attached to, and that's my father. My father is an alcoholic, and he's been an alcoholic my entire life. I don't think his entire life, but yes, my entire life. And that situation of his um, shaped me because I was little. I could not do, or I could not go against it or fight it or think better of it or try to control it. As I grew up, I didn't know I could do something about it in in myself, not in him. And since I came back home, I've been trying to cut cords and do rituals and set boundaries and face him somehow and then pretend I don't care and get angry as well, and so on and so forth. And as I was writing right now about how we all have our own individual challenges, I was thinking again that even though my life might not look so hard, I still have to deal with the pain of my father as an alcoholic. And as I said that, the attachment to pain stories came to my mind, and I saw myself attaching my identity to this story of my father is an alcoholic. Because being the girl whose father is an alcoholic gives me the possibility to say, oh, you are struggling, I get you, I'm struggling too. You know, you had a difficult childhood, oh, I get you, I had it too. You know, it gives me the opportunity to go around the world or, using the internet to say, hey, I get you, you are in pain, I am too. And alcoholics are the worst uh, sort of people, and they don't know how painful it is to witness their alcoholism and so on and so forth. It just gives me, I am this hurt puppy again. I am this hurt little girl or woman now because my father is an alcoholic. And then I get to stay in the swirling or in the tornado that is just in my head about how painful it is to have an alcoholic father. And I don't want to say it is not, there are also different levels of alcoholism. My father was never physically abusive. It was actually never, I guess sometimes verbally abusive, yes, not necessarily to me, but some other people could feel that. But I guess the biggest thing or the biggest impact this thingy with my father caused on me was fear. I was very little, so I couldn't do anything about it. So I was fearful because I never knew how he would react or what will happen if he got drunk. Maybe something will happen to him, maybe something will happen to me or my mom or to all of us because there were usually fights um, with other people. Anyway, I am 31 now. My father is still drinking, though I know he tries to control it if you can, like alcoholics can't control it, but they try. So anyway, now that I am older, this thing with his alcoholism is different. And it's different in the way that I could approach it or take it in a different way as I took it when I was 5 or 6, and even when I was 12. And it doesn't have to define me anymore. It really doesn't have to be part of my life or the narrative of my life. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I'm not negating that it's there and that it exists, but it doesn't have to hurt me now, you know? It played its role, this situation with my father in my life. I became a type of person. I think some type of thoughts. I do relate to some people because of this situation. I became a type of person because of it, and I can accept the good and the bad that left me, but I don't have to attach myself to the narrative of my father is an alcoholic and I suffer because of it anymore. I don't have to suffer. I can still reap the benefits of the situation without me having to stay in the situation, you know? And many of us do this. We go through life depressed, sad, angry, jealous. Maybe not because we want to, but because we don't see a life beyond that. We don't see how can we exist or what we could be if we let go of all of this. Who will we be if we let go of the pain? Who will we be if we let go of the suffering, of the jealousy, of the anger? We have identified so tightly with these emotions that we no longer know who we are without them. And so now we are afraid of letting them go because who will we be? What we will do if we weren't that person? Most of us, we care about what people will say about us. We've created and crafted carefully an identity, a personality, an image. If all my life I said I was a serious person, a controlling person, an angry person, and suddenly I go somewhere and I am cheerful and I am easygoing and I am relaxed, people will say, "What happened to you?" You know, they will shut me down immediately because they won't buy into the new image I am creating for myself. Maybe they will ridicule me. Maybe they won't accept me because that's not me, you know? But that's wrong. That's me. That's more me than the angry one, than the suffering one, than the one in trouble and struggling all the time. And people might reject me at the beginning because they reject those things that they are seeing in me in themselves. Most of us prefer to show a face of seriousness, of adults are supposed to be well behaved, serious, controlled all the times, you know. So when you will see an adult at 45, 55, even 25, 35, or whatever, I guess I like the fives, being or behaving as a 16-year-old, because he or she is happy and outgoing and relaxed and don't care so much about the difficulties of life, then you think, or we all think, he or she is immature. And it's like, why are you behaving this way? Why you are not an adult? But that fuzziness, that brightness, that relaxation is more us, is closer to our true identity and our true essence, whichever age we are, than the one that is controlling and resentful and shy and quiet and responsible. Responsibility and excitement and fluffiness and happiness has nothing to do, they don't go against each other. You can still be a very happy human, a very happy adult, and be responsible and so on at the same time. One of my cousins is depressed and she's trying not to look like it. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know the full story. But at the same time, I also think she attaches herself too much to certain things, to certain thoughts, to certain behaviors, to certain circumstances that happen to her, or in her life. And this attachment process, this attachment thingy that happens between us and our emotions and our circumstances is necessary for us to find ourselves as a personality, as an identity, as a human, even as an essence. A lot of spiritual texts or energy texts say that we need to experience what we are not in order to find what we are. And I've been against that. I mean, I accept it as true, but I am against it because that's fucked up. Why? Why would we need to do that? Why we couldn't just bask in the infiniteness of who we are or what we are instead of having to try the shadows? But then, if I look at it in a different way, or if I could expand my awareness, I see that it's a perfect way of doing things, right? That's why difficult situations happen in our life, because we are going to then be something we are not, to then finally be something we truly are. And so, this attachment to our stories, our narratives of pain and suffering, are that tool or that thing that is going to help us find ourselves. So, the important thing is that we need to attach ourselves to those stories until we don't have to anymore, or until we don't. But it is very important for all of us to understand that there will be a point in our lives where we need to let go of those stories. I don't like to use the word lesson, but once the knowledge, the experience has reached a certain point of completion, then it's time to let it go. So we need to be very careful with the attachment process and the releasing process. You know, we need to be ready. We need to know that nothing is permanent, that we have to let go at a certain point. So those are my 5 cents of wisdom today. We can let go of the narratives of pain we have and we attach ourselves into or to. We are not our pain. Our experiences, the difficult ones, or even the beautiful ones, do not define us. We literally are undefinable, if that's a word. We are unlimited. We are everything, the good and the bad at the same time. But we can also choose to be it in stages. We do not have one personality only, we have so many. And that's not bad. It just means we are evolving, we change, we grow, we learn to let go. And that's just fine.